So now we have Joy Williams.
Hello.
Hello. And Joy likes to remind me how we met. So I'll have Joy introduce herself, but Joy, like everyone who you will hear from, is also a multi-hyphenate. You can decide which part you want to focus on, but I will share that Joy currently, she is also an entrepreneur, but also is leading the Entrepreneurship Department program at Hofstra University. All right, so Joy, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yes, well, thank you for having me.
Yes, is the mic on?
I think it's on. Is it on?
Okay.
Yeah, it's on. So I, like she said, I'm Joy Williams. I run Soul Joy Wellness.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay. Oh yeah, this is definitely better, right? So I run Soul Joy Wellness. So it is also a wellness company where we help people live their best life on purpose with faith, fitness, and fun. So really, I started that because at 23 years old, I was diagnosed with atrial fibrillation, which at 23, I said was an old people's disease. So if you've seen those commercials for Pradaxa, Eliquis, and Xarelto, the people in the commercials are older, but when I would go to the cardiologist, I was the youngest person there. So I went to a lot of health fairs and learned about all the health disparities that Black and brown people suffer from and tried to figure out how to address those problems. At the same time, I had my regular job. So I transitioned from financial services to media, once before business school and then once after. And then since this is something I've always wanted to do, I took that leap and did that. And when I got into entrepreneurship, I tried to get myself really in the entrepreneurship ecosystem. So I worked for Lean Startup Machine, training people on how to get their minimum viable product and do those things. So I had that in my back pocket for a long time because I did those things in Toronto, New York, and Australia. So just learning that. So an opportunity came for me to help entrepreneurs at Hofstra University, and I run the Entrepreneurship Assistance Center program. So all of this is, like you said, a multi-hyphenate, things I'm really interested in. And to me, organizing these things is really similar. I like pulling people together to share information and help empower other people. So, and the faith part is, to whom much is given, much is required. And we are going to have to pull ourselves to the next level. I'm not talking about bootstraps. We're going to have to make the boots, make the road, and everything else because no one else is going to do it for us. So that's why we have to do this.
And you've done that for yourself in your entrepreneurial journey. So you took something that can be very discouraging, very disheartening, very difficult for anybody to deal with, and you made a business out of it. And we see a common thread in the conversations that we're having also, because it is a personal experience that also led to your entrepreneurial journey. Was there an aha moment of some sort that led to you saying, okay, I should go into the wellness space?
I don't know if it was just one moment. So I had always said that I wanted to run my own company or lead a network. So my background is I have a considerable background in media, so I'd always been saying that, and then thinking, how are we going to solve this problem is to actually approach it from a media perspective. So everybody knows you should eat well and exercise. We don't necessarily do it, but we know. We don't, and as much as I go to church, I don't really want people preaching at me about these things. So it has to be engaging and entertaining because that is what draws people to events. And I went to a lot of health fairs. I did get information, but I have 3 degrees. I thought these things were boring. So I was 23, so I thought they were boring and they weren't impactful. So they weren't changing people's behaviors. There were 2 sets of people there. There were older people and sick people. So how can we get people to come to events, learn the information that they need, and change their behavior? So at the time, The Biggest Loser was on TV. So I used to watch that and know that people were really excited about that and thought, how could I make something that people are engaged with and they wanted to be, they found really interesting. And at the time I worked at ESPN, so it was like, okay, how can we make this thing work? So it is like an undercover media company, but it is really focused on wellness.
And very much using, you've connected the dots of your journey, your personal experience with your health challenges, to your experience in media, to creating a business for yourself, and then fast forward, getting a role where you're not helping and supporting other entrepreneurs. But I want to go back to something else that you mentioned. But before I do so, I just want to first commend you for also bringing light to your health concern. We know that a lot of disabilities, a lot of health concerns are also very hidden and silent. I discovered someone on my actual team is colorblind, for example, but we didn't figure this out until we were working on a project together. And that's where the inclusion work comes in, creating space for the difference that we may encounter. How would you advise or guide a younger person who maybe is challenged with health concerns, who is maybe sinking into themselves? What would you say to them?
I think you really have to be clear that you have a support system. And so if the people around you aren't supportive, you have to find other people who are, and that people who listen to you. And then also the other thing that I do is when I see other people, like they have been successful, they've gone through something, I use that as inspiration. Because some people talk about looking at social media and how makes them depressed. But no one ever really talks about, like, if I see a story of someone else doing something, and I know from my faith that God is no respecter of person, then that could happen to me too. So I don't necessarily need that exact thing, but I can find some people that are supportive, and I can find some people that are helpful, and then I can also go find what information is happening out there. So I happen to know a lot of physicians, I happen to know a lot of nurses, so I go talk to people that have information to make it more comfortable for me and to figure out what I really need to know. Because you could have a condition, so no one really talked about why this happened to me until like 3 years ago. We were treating the symptoms, we were trying to figure out, and I'm trying to figure out how for it not to happen again, but no one's like, oh, why did this happen to you at 23 years old? So you really have to investigate these things for yourself.
And what I was actually going to go back to was you saying that you're a problem solver, is that you were looking to solve problems. And then I also want to go back to the whole preachy thing. Because I relate that to sales, which is necessary for any business. You need sales, but nobody wants to be sold to. And also nobody wants to necessarily have someone preaching to them, right? But one of the things about entrepreneurship that sometimes when we're younger and we are celebrity inspired, or inspired by other things, maybe things we want to buy, material things, we're not always thinking about what it takes to start a business. But your path has been problem solving. So tell us a bit more about that problem solving piece in your experience, but then also how you communicate and relate to the entrepreneurs that you now get to engage with often about the power of problem solving.
So entrepreneurship really is problem solving. So if you're not solving a problem, it's really not a business. And even entertainment is solving a problem. So you have to think of it that way. Like, what problem are we solving? And how can I solve the problem? So one thing about me, I think I've always naturally been a problem solver, is if something's happening, I like to try to think of 3 ways to solve that problem. So if you're constantly thinking of the solution, like how can I get to this solution, then you have a greater opportunity to make that happen. And when talking to other people, because what stops people is they think of something that's secure, like I don't know what's happening next. And I remind us, especially when we talk about faith, like the only thing we know, for those of us who believe in Jesus, is the same yesterday, today, and forever is Jesus, right? So everything else, you are just assuming that you're taking it for granted. And this is helpful in other situations. When people get fired and their identity is in that job, and they were thinking it was secure. So if you put your security someplace else and you recognize you really don't know what's happening, you really don't, then if you can live in that space, and sometimes I'm better at it than others, but if I can live in that space as all I need to know is the next good thing to do, and then it can lead to something after that. And I might have no idea how it's gonna happen, and we can make stuff happen because we are living with knowing that there's more power than just us, power in community and power in the faith that we have.
Okay, so this might be really obvious, but you said even entertainment is solving a problem. My background is in media and entertainment as well. For those of us who it's just not connecting for, what is entertainment solving for?
Right, so for a lot of people, boredom, right? So you have different things to do with your time. Entertainment for some of us is an escape for some of us. Entertainment for others is information, but it is, you have different choices. So what are you going to do with that choice? You are solving a problem because you need to, like you were talking about sales, you need to have something that's engaging to people that they want to pay attention to. You have to give them what they want. You have to deliver what you want in the package that they want. So you have to work on both of those things. Because if it's not entertaining, you're going to change the channel.
Yes, exactly. So for those interested in entrepreneurship, solving a problem is important. One thing that Leslie Maxey had me focus on during our time working together is also storytelling. So also understanding what you're solving for, and then also being able to tell a story around it so that you don't have to sell. If you are selling, then that can seem very forced. Nobody likes to be sold to. But if you're sharing the benefits of something, why it might make sense for you, then you might lean in a bit and want to hear more about it. So we can avoid also ourselves being preachy and then also selling if we can tell a story that is meaningful.
Right, because people don't really want a coach. They want the result that the coach is going to give. So if you talk about the result that you're going to give, then that's the thing, right? So I had someone talk to me last week. And also this will get you higher prices. So when you talk about the result you're going to give, because you're going to shorten the amount of time as a coach, right? You're going to shorten the amount of time it's going to take the person to get to that goal. And if you talk about these are all the things, and when you say the price, they're already sold because that's what they want. I'm going to deliver this. You want that? I can help you do that. And you don't have to oversell, and you can turn some people away. Like, we're not a good fit.
Right. Not everyone is your client or your customer. Okay, so we're gonna need to have a deeper conversation about price points because we were starting to go there. But what I do wanna ask you now is, with the entrepreneurs that you work with, and even in your experience, what is one of the top things, and if you wanna mention 2 or more, maybe just 2, challenges that entrepreneurs today face? Because entrepreneurship, I say, is over glamorized. As an entrepreneur myself, I see late nights often, early mornings often as well. It can be over glamorized because people want the outcome, right?
Instantly.
Of the coach and the entrepreneurs that probably spent 10 years doing it. So what are one of the 1 to 2 top challenges you see entrepreneurs facing, and how can maybe a new entrepreneur get ahead of it or consider it?
So I think entrepreneurs, when they have that vision, like you said earlier, they don't recognize all the things that they need to do. And then a lot of entrepreneurs, because they hear about other people, like overnight success or whatever, don't really want to invest in themselves. So they don't want to invest in training. They don't want to invest in marketing. They feel they can make it happen themselves. So those things, like the training and the marketing, and those things will collapse the time, and that's what you want. You want to get there as fast as you can, because we do not have forever on earth. So you want to get there sooner than later. So you need to invest the time and talent and effort that you have and focused, right? There's free opportunities, right? Chase has free opportunities. I have low-cost opportunities and free at Hofstra, the Entrepreneurship Assistance Center program. But you have to invest your time, talent, and treasure into make that happen.
Time, talent, and treasure. Okay, so one last question for you. One of the things I'm hearing often from students is, I am not going to go to college. I don't want to go to college because I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to start my own business. you're at Hofstra running the entrepreneurship program. So what is the value of education and higher education in entrepreneurship?
So I think for some people, it might be possible for them to skip college. Like, you know, when LeBron went into the NBA, he was a grown man, right? He looked like a grown man, he was mature, he was a grown man. But some people are not. So sometimes those years of college, or even if they go to junior college or a trade program, are something they need to mature. And some people are saying that having no idea what it entails. So they can do some informational interviews, get some internships, and if they just want to avoid college, that is not the goal. It's like, why are you going to college? What is it that you need to learn? And are you mature enough? Do you have enough exposure? So on the other end, where people are talking about doing their business after they have finished their career, is you can use all of those experiences. And if you're in a high school and the only people you know are the people in your high school, then you're gonna have a tough time selling stuff to other people who have no money, right? You know, and if your circle is people who have a lot of money and a lot of connections, because if you listen to the stories of Zuckerberg or Gates, they had money and connections. So the things that people aren't telling you, and the things that we need is those things are accelerators. Your network is an accelerator. Yes. Your cash, or wherever you get that from, is an accelerator to make you make things happen. Growing a business, that's why people need money, because growing a business requires money, because you're doing something before you get paid, right. And to invest it and to make it happen, you're going to need more money. So people who say that have less exposure. And that's one of the things, you need as much exposure as you can get.
Connections, relationships, networks is something that has been coming up often. And one thing I say often is to get paid and run payroll, you have to pay for the payroll system just to get paid. So everything costs something, but also networks and relationships are critical. So thank you for sharing with us how we can power our potential and how you were able to take something that some people might view as a disadvantage as an advantage.
Thank you.